Welcome back. For the second month in a row, the average home price in the U.S. hit a record high, deepening the affordability crisis. And we want to prepare buyers and sellers for the challenges ahead and see how prices in Western Washington compare to those across the nation. Joining me now in studio with what to plan for is the founder and CEO of Rexmont Real Estate, Adriano Torre. Adriano, good to have you this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so talk about the average cost of a home in the U.S. and how big of a jump we're talking about.
So right now, the median home sales price across the U.S. is $426,000, inching above that number. And compared to Seattle, you know, we are over double that amount. So
Sure.
we are close to 900,000. And so what it means for us in terms of affordability, there are three major factors that are a huge contribution to where we're heading with housing affordability, which has been an issue, you know, in the last few years. But mainly, one of them is the higher interest rates that we are aware,
Right.
you know, and right now, basically, the rates are coming very close to the sevens, so they are 6.875% across the board for major lenders in the area nationwide. The second part of this is construction cost, right? So we've seen that the cost of labor, steel, concrete have gone up significantly as well. There is shortage of skilled labor, and the labor costs have also influenced to a slowdown on building. And the third is wages, right? And wages also haven't kept in the last at least 4 years, shortly after COVID, and it's making, you know, home affordability an issue along with living costs in the community.
So what can we expect in the coming months in terms of affordability and the rising cost of housing?
So early in the year, there was this projection of getting the interest rates down. So the Federal Reserve was at least having a plan to cut the rates, 3 times this year. Unfortunately, that hasn't been the case. Inflation has been contained, but there hasn't been any changes so far announced that are significant or will have a significant impact in terms of getting a little bit of a leeway when it comes to housing affordability by getting interest rates down, at least for the remainder of the year. And, who knows what might happen in the next year. Things are being projected to be similar to what we see here in terms of the rates. Your guess might be better than mine in terms of what will happen with interest rates. But in terms of what is going on right now in the market, surprisingly, we've seen a slowdown in the month of June. In fact, the number of homes or inventory that is in the market has increased by 16% compared to last year. In Washington State, and the national average is at a little over 5%, and so the options for home buyers are increasing, which basically brings less pressure on making quick decisions.
So when the Fed hints at a possible rate cut in the fall, what would that do to the housing market in general?
So you will see a surge of home purchases, in the community. There are different options as well that buyers do have currently, in the state. There are many no money down home programs that, that will be more accessible. Because as buyer has less down payment, they tend to have the higher rates. That's one part. The second part is that as long as you consult a knowledgeable loan officer, a lender, or a real estate agent, they can guide you in the right direction. Meaning that there are options out there where banks are offering what is known as recasting. Like, so let's say that we are locking a rate today. It doesn't mean that you have to live with that rate forever. As you get more money towards your principal balance, you can, have a request to your lender to lower your principal balance by the amount that you wish to contribute, and then they will recompute your mortgage payment, which will make your home more affordable in terms of making a decision to buy now versus later. But as far as what the possibilities are in the future, that as we see more of that number of homes being available in the market, there is more options for buyers right now. And so my advice for buyers right now is not to delay and being calm with the predisposition of planning your purchase rather than just going to the open house and scrambling, last minute, because sometimes that tends to be a very painful process.
For sure. And what is the biggest challenge that you hear from buyers and sellers in this market? Because it's really tough right now.
Correct, yeah. So the biggest challenge is that of the rates. So coming back to the affordability, housing costs, and the cost of living. That's one of the major challenges. To be able to combat that, planning, needs to be part of your strategy. It takes planning to buy a home and ultimately find the right housing option, for your needs. And then the second part, for home sellers, if you're looking to put your property on the market, right now, as where we stand, we have to be more conscientious on potentially be more flexible with your pricing strategy, or even come up with incentives such as paying buyers closing costs, or even paying a home warranty, or even making sure that we are investing the money strategically in your property to make it ready for homes, improving the curb appeal, likely making some updates, around the kitchen, or making updates throughout your property as a whole.
Adriano Torre from Rexmont Real Estate, thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you having me out.